Let's look first at concentration ratio. The concentration ratio is measured using a percentage of total market share and is defined as the percent of the combined sales of the leading 4 firms in industry, known as CR4, or the combined sales of the leading 8 firms in industry, known as CR8. The formula for the concentration ratio is the sum of the market share of the leading 4 or 8 firms divided by the total market share times 100%. Once the concentration ratio has been calculated, it needs to be interpreted. The concentration ratio is interpreted based on where the statistic calculated falls within the set of following criteria. If the concentration ratio is 0%, there is no concentration and is interpreted to mean perfect competition. If the concentration ratio is between 1% and 50%, there is a low concentration, and the market type associated with a low concentration is monopolistic competition. If the concentration ratio is between 51 to 80%, there is medium concentration, and the two market types that are associated with medium concentration are monopolistic competition and oligopoly. If the concentration ratio is between 81% to 100%, there is a high concentration, and the market types associated with this is either oligopoly or monopoly. The procedure for calculating the concentration ratio is total the amount of production for the entire market, total the amount of production for the leading 4 to 8 firms in the market, divide the market share of the leading 4 of 8 firms by the total market size, and multiply the result by 100%. Next, you need to evaluate the result on the following criteria: 0%, no concentration, perfect competition; 1% to 50%, low concentration or monopolistic competition; 51% to 80%, medium concentration, monopolistic competition / oligopoly; and 81% to 100%, high concentration, oligopoly or monopoly. Let's look at an example of how to calculate the concentration ratio. An economic analyst wants to determine the level of concentration in a particular industry. She collects the following data. Firm A produces 150 million units, Firm B 100 million units, Firm C 80 million units, and Firm D 70 million units. The remaining firms, A through Z, produce together 450 million units of a good. The first step is to calculate the entire market size. This is done by adding the production of Firm A to the production of Firm B to the production of Firm C to the production of Firm D to the production of the rest of the market. Next, we'll substitute in 150 million for A's production, 100 for B's production, 80 for C's production, 70 for D's production, and 450 for firms A through Z. Next step is to calculate the sum of 150, 100, 80, 70, and 450. The industry total, or the total market size, is 850, or more correctly, 850 million units. Since the problem only represents specific information about 4 firms, Firm A, Firm B, Firm C, and Firm D, the CR4 calculation will be used. So the formula we will need to use for the production for the total of the leading firms is Firm A's production plus Firm B's production plus Firm C's production plus Firm D's production. Next, we'll substitute 150 for Firm A's production. Next, we'll substitute in 100 for B's production. Next, we'll substitute in 80 for C's production. Next, we'll substitute in 70 for D's production. Next, we need to add these numbers together. This gives us 400 for the market share of the 4 leading firms. The next thing is to write down our formula for the concentration ratio, which is the production of the 4 leading firms, firms A through D in our example, divided by the total production of the entire industry times 100%. Next, substitute in 400 for the total production of the 4 leading firms. Next, substitute in 850 for the total production of the entire industry. Next, divide the total production of the leading 4 firms, 400, by the total production of the entire industry, 850. And this gives 0.470588 times 100%, which can be rounded off to 47 hundredths times 100%. Multiplying 47 hundredths times 100% gives 47%. So the 4 leading firms of this industry control 47% of the production. The concentration ratio is 47%, meaning the 4 leading firms control 47% of the market for this good. To determine how concentrated the industry is, the calculated concentration ratio needs to be compared to the concentration ratios defining the various levels of concentration and their associated market types. The first concentration ratio is 0%, meaning perfect competition. Since 47% is not equal to 0%, the firms are not perfectly competitive. Next is the calculated ratio in the range of 1% to 50%. Yes, and so the firms operate in a market with low concentration. Which is translated roughly into a monopolistic competitive